What about questions that, when it's a candidate's turn to ask you questions, what are some of the best questions that they can ask you?
About our culture, about, a lot of times they'll ask what a typical day is like, and I mean, I can tell them what my day is like, but my day might be different than what their day may be. You know, asking about the culture, asking about, you know, what the organization is like, you know, things like that.
You know, one thing I would think of when you should definitely forward plan and think about what questions you want to get answered. Take a notepad, right? Jot things down, because as you go through the interviews, it may lead to, the conversation may lead to more questions that you want answered. I would steer clear of just like stock questions, right? Just so have a reason for asking a question. And I also, one thing that I've seen work really well is the transparency of, and you know, if you ask your colleagues, you'll know that I'm asking the same question, but I'm really interested to get more of a 360 to see what everybody answers this question, right? I think it can be, having that transparency piece can be helpful, because sometimes if you do a debrief on a candidate and everyone's like, well, they asked me that question too. And it's like, well, did they not think of another question to ask? But if you're saying like there's a reason behind it, that can really change the dynamic of how it's received. So be thoughtful, yeah.
And definitely ask questions. When you have an interview and you've asked someone and you've sat with them for a half hour, 45 minutes, and you turn the table around and there are no questions, even if you've met with a handful of people throughout the day, you would think that anyone coming into an organization would want to know something about it. So at least at the default of, hey, how did you get here? What's your path? What's your experience been like? Something that gets to, what is it going to be like, you know, day to day for me in this environment, and am I going to enjoy it and thrive here? You know, because again, regardless of what the role is, that's so much of what life is like, right? Is figuring out if you want to be somewhere day to day.
It is. It's mutual.
Yeah.
The job has to fit for both of us. So if you don't have any questions at the end of the interview, it doesn't seem that you're very curious in it. Additionally, I'm never offended if people ask me, how did the interview go? What do I see as next steps for them? And to have that candor about where do I think that they fit for the role. I don't find that terribly off-putting. I feel that they really want to understand what's going to happen next, and to have an expectation of when they'll hear back or what the next steps would be or what the rest of the interviewing process would look like. Those are always good things to know.
Just to pivot off that, I would say sometimes, and maybe this is the different scale of the organizations, but if you're working through a recruiter, you know, so in Google's process, you would speak to a recruiter and then you would come in for on-sites with the team. You know, the recruiter should say with you, I'll follow up with you after the interview. So in that instant, you know, my sense would be, you know, you could sort of say, I've really enjoyed meeting with you. I look forward to following up with the recruiter and hope I get to speak with you again, or something along those lines. So be sensitive. Every process can be different, and listen for the clues every time. And if you work through a recruiter, ask the recruiter, right, what is the best process? How should I follow up? How will I know? So that you then gain the insights.